Forget gold, forget diamonds. In the clandestine markets of the Soviet Union, the true currency of desire wasn't precious metals. It was a simple bottle of Coca-Cola. It sounds like a bizarre artifact of a bygone era, a quirky footnote in history, but this astonishing fact unveils a deeper truth about the clash of ideologies, the power of consumerism, and the intricate web of informal economies that thrived behind the Iron Curtain. In this video, we're not just going to tell you a curious anecdote. We're going to dive headfirst into the dark secrets of how a sugary brown drink became a symbol of Western luxury, a coveted currency, and an unlikely agent of change in the Soviet Union. We'll explore the challenges Coca-Cola faced in penetrating a closed communist society, the myths surrounding its clandestine distribution, and ultimately, reveal the surprising truth of its profound impact on a nation yearning for a taste of freedom. Get ready to have your perceptions of the Cold War and the global economy fundamentally reshaped. For decades, the Soviet Union stood as a colossal monolith, seemingly impervious to the capitalist allure of the West. Its rigid command economy, strict ideological controls, and omnipresent propaganda painted a picture of self-sufficiency and moral superiority, diametrically opposed to the perceived decadence of Western consumerism. Yet, beneath this hardened exterior, a different reality was brewing, one where the seemingly innocuous products of the free world held an almost mythical status. Coca-Cola in particular transcended its identity as a mere beverage. It became a potent emblem of Western aspiration, freedom, and modernity. To possess a bottle of Coke in the USSR was not just to quench a thirst, it was to taste a forbidden fruit, to hold a tangible piece of the outside world, a direct connection to a lifestyle that the Soviet state vehemently condemned, yet many of its citizens secretly craved. This wasn't merely about flavor, it was about the profound psychological impact of a brand that represented everything the communist system denied: choice, abundance, and individual expression. The very act of holding a Coke bottle was a small, silent rebellion, a testament to the persistent human desire for what is denied, a testament to the irresistible pull of the forbidden. The scarcity of such goods only amplified their allure, turning them into objects of immense desire and consequently, immense informal value. The journey of Coca-Cola into the heart of the Soviet Union was anything but straightforward. It wasn't a matter of establishing factories and distribution networks, it was a clandestine infiltration, a testament to ingenuity born of scarcity. For the average Soviet citizen, obtaining a bottle of Coke was a quest, often requiring connections, knowing the right people, or being in the right place at the right time. These places were typically limited to Berezka stores, exclusive outlets catering to foreign diplomats, tourists, and a select few Soviet citizens with access to foreign currency. These stores, designed to skim off hard currency from foreigners, inadvertently became conduits for the trickle-down of Western goods into the black market. Soviet citizens working in roles that brought them into contact with foreigners, sailors, interpreters, hotel staff, and even some black marketeers became the primary, albeit unofficial, distributors. They'd acquire Coke through various means, sometimes bartering for it, other times receiving it as payment or tips. These individuals then became the gatekeepers of this coveted commodity, selling it at exorbitant markups on the streets or in hushed whispers behind closed doors. The sheer rarity of Coca-Cola elevated its status from a simple drink to a symbol of ultimate luxury, a tangible representation of a world many could only dream of. The unofficial economy, often dismissed by Soviet propaganda as a fringe element, was in fact a vibrant, intricate network, fueled by demand for goods that the state couldn't or wouldn't provide. And within this network, Coke was king, its value far exceeding its humble origins as a carbonated beverage. The rise of Coca-Cola as an informal medium of exchange in the Soviet Union is one of the most astonishing aspects of its story, highlighting the utter dysfunction of the Soviet economic system and the innate human capacity for adaptation. Imagine, in a nation where the official currency, the ruble, was centrally controlled and often devalued, where queues for basic goods were endless and choice was non-existent, a simple glass bottle of Coca-Cola could hold more sway than a stack of government-issued banknotes. This wasn't just speculation, it was a de facto currency, a liquid asset more stable and universally desired than the official tender for certain transactions. People would use Coke to pay for small favors, secure better positions in queues, or even as partial payment for illicit goods and services. A worker might be offered a bottle of Coke as a bonus for a particularly difficult task, knowing they could then trade it for something truly desired. This informal exchange rate fluctuated wildly, influenced by supply, or lack thereof, demand, and the perceived desperation of the buyer or seller. But consistently, a bottle of Coke commanded a premium that dwarfed its actual production cost. This phenomenon wasn't unique to Coca-Cola. Other highly coveted Western goods like Levi's jeans, Marlboro cigarettes, or even certain Western records also served similar functions. However, Coke, with its widespread recognition and relative portability, stood out. It represented a parallel economy, a testament to the resourcefulness of ordinary citizens navigating a system that fundamentally failed to meet their needs. This informal currency system was a subtle yet powerful undermining of state control, demonstrating that true value often resided not in government decrees, but in the desires of the people. The story takes an even more intriguing turn when we consider the official stance of the Soviet government towards Coca-Cola. On one hand, it was a symbol of decadent Western capitalism, something to be demonized and excluded. Propaganda often portrayed American consumer goods as frivolous and ultimately harmful, a stark contrast to the supposed austerity and moral rectitude of the socialist ideal. Yet on the other hand, there was an undeniable fascination, even a grudging acceptance at the highest levels. This paradox led to peculiar and often humorous situations, revealing the hypocrisy inherent in the Soviet system. One of the most famous anecdotes involves Marshal Georgy Zhukov, the celebrated Soviet military commander, who reportedly developed a taste for Coca-Cola after being introduced to it by Dwight D. Eisenhower. However, Zhukov was concerned about being seen consuming such a blatant symbol of American capitalism. The ingenious white Coke solution was devised, a clear version of Coca-Cola, bottled with a white cap and a red star, making it indistinguishable from vodka or other clear spirits and thus less politically compromising. This bizarre episode perfectly encapsulates the internal conflict within the Soviet elite, a desire for the quality and novelty of Western goods, coupled with an unwavering commitment to ideological purity. It wasn't just about Zhukov. The very fact that such a bespoke solution was created for a high-ranking official speaks volumes about the perceived threat and simultaneous allure of Coca-Cola. It was a brand that, despite all efforts, couldn't be entirely kept out, highlighting the porous nature of even the most impenetrable borders when faced with universal consumer desire. This official manipulation and grudging acceptance directly contradict the public condemnation, presenting a compelling piece of evidence against the monolithic image of the Soviet state. Now, let's address a controversial aspect. Was the Soviet infatuation with Coca-Cola a deliberate strategy by the West, or merely an unintended consequence of consumer desire? Some might argue that the very presence and eventual widespread knowledge of Coca-Cola's value was a calculated move, a subtle form of cultural warfare designed to erode Soviet ideology from within. By creating a hunger for Western goods, the argument goes, the US and its allies fostered discontent and a yearning for a different way of life. They might point to instances like the White Coke incident as evidence of Western ingenuity in circumventing Soviet restrictions. However, this perspective, while intriguing, arguably overstates the deliberate strategic intent of Coca-Cola itself. The company, first and foremost, was a business seeking global expansion. While it undoubtedly understood the symbolic power of its brand, its primary goal was market penetration and profit, not necessarily geopolitical destabilization. The true power of Coca-Cola as a symbol lay not in a calculated propaganda campaign, but in its organic emergence as a representation of freedom and choice in a society that lacked both. The inherent allure of the forbidden, combined with the genuine quality and novelty of the product compared to bland Soviet alternatives, created a demand that no amount of government propaganda could extinguish. The fact that it became a medium of exchange was a testament to the informal market's desperate need for a stable, coveted commodity, not a direct instruction from Washington or Atlanta. The cultural warfare was an emergent property, a consequence of the fundamental clash between a closed system and the open market, rather than a top-down directive. The yearning for Coca-Cola wasn't manufactured, it was a natural human response to scarcity and the desire for variety. The decline of the Soviet Union in the late 1980s and early 1990s saw a fascinating shift in Coca-Cola's status. As Mikhail Gorbachev's policies of glasnost, openness, and perestroika, restructuring, began to loosen the ideological grip, the Iron Curtain started to fray. This period of thawing relations and economic liberalization opened the door for Coca-Cola to finally establish a legitimate presence in the USSR. In the summer of 1988, the first official Coca-Cola bottling plant in the Soviet Union opened in Moscow. This was a monumental moment, signaling a symbolic victory for Western consumerism and a significant step towards economic integration. Suddenly, Coca-Cola was no longer a forbidden luxury, a black market commodity, or an unofficial currency. It was becoming widely available, albeit still a relatively expensive treat for many. The novelty eventually wore off, replaced by the reality of a globalized marketplace. While its initial scarcity had given it immense value, its newfound availability, paradoxical as it may seem, diminished its mystique as a symbol of the forbidden. The ruble itself was undergoing massive reforms, and the informal economy, while still present, was overshadowed by the burgeoning official market. The queues for imported goods became a common sight, and the desperation that once elevated a bottle of Coke to a currency began to subside. The eventual collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 solidified this transition, transforming Coca-Cola from a symbol of defiance to just another consumer product in a newly emerging capitalist landscape. In conclusion, the fascinating journey of Coca-Cola in the Soviet Union is far more than just a quirky historical footnote. It serves as a powerful microcosm of the Cold War itself, a testament to the resilience of human desire in the face of ideological rigidity. It highlights the profound impact of consumer culture even in the most controlled environments, demonstrating how seemingly simple products can become powerful symbols of freedom, choice, and a longed-for alternative reality. The story of Coke as a currency underscores the inherent inefficiencies and contradictions of a command economy, where genuine value found its way into the hands of the people, bypassing official channels. It also provokes us to reflect on the nature of value itself. Is it determined by government decree, or by the collective desires and perceived needs of individuals? As we look at today's interconnected world where brands transcend borders and information flows freely, the tale of Coca-Cola and the ruble offers a potent reminder of the enduring human aspiration for openness and connection, and the unexpected ways in which even a simple drink can challenge the might of an empire. What other seemingly insignificant objects do you think hold disproportionate symbolic or economic power in today's world? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you found this exploration intriguing, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more dives into the hidden histories that shape our world.